Today we'll be starting the second class of drugs in anti-neoplastic agents, that's anti-metabolites. So what do you mean by anti-metabolites? Anti means against the metabolites. So what are these metabolites? Like these agents inhibit enzymes involved in DNA synthesis or its nucleotide building blocks. So they will either inhibit your DNA synthesis or the nucleotides which are necessary for building of your DNA. So in this way, they will be disrupting the function of your DNA. So antimetabolites are the agents which inhibit the enzymes involved in synthesis of DNA or its nucleotide building blocks. And this is another method of disrupting the DNA function. So if the DNA is not functional, the proteins are not synthesized. The new cells will not be synthesized. So this is how the antimetabolites act. The inhibitors are described as anti-metabolites. Why metabolites? Because they act against anything, anti. Okay. Generally, the cellular components, like what are the components which can block? Okay. Folic acid, purine, pyrimidines, which are involved in the synthesis of your nucleic acid. They will be blocked. Antibody inhibit nucleic acid synthesis by competitive inhibitor of cellular components. They achieve this by combining with specific enzyme or getting incorporated into specific enzyme, thereby forming an inactive macromolecule and consequent cell death. They act specific phase of cell cycle. Also, they act on the specific phase of cell cycle. So they can be incorporated into the cellular component. Once they get incorporated, they will destroy the cellular mechanism of your cancerous cell. Okay, by combining with specific enzyme or getting incorporated into a specific enzyme. So this is how they can either they combine or they get incorporated into the enzymes which is necessary for your DNA RNA synthesis. Okay, now let's go for the next. So some of the examples of antimetabolites. Some of the examples of antimetabolites. 5-fluorouracil. So if you see 5-fluorouracil is similar to that of your pyrimidine nucleotide. Your mercaptopurine is analogous to your allopurinol. Okay, methotrexate, it is antimetabolite for your folic acid, which is very much important in the synthesis of your thymidine. Okay, which is a part of your DNA. So this is precursor. So these are some of the examples of anti-metabolites. Now let's go one by one. Let's go one by one. So first example is 5-fluorouracil. Next, first example is 5-fluorouracil. So 5-fluoro is an pyrimidine analog. 5-fluorouracil is an pyrimidine analog. So what do you mean by pyrimidine analog? It has got nitrogen at 1 and 3 position, and it is analogous to what? Uracil and thymine. So it has got structural similarity to your uracil and which are the building blocks for your nucleotide. Okay, so this 5-fluorouracil resembles to the pyrimidine bases uracil and thymidine components of DNA and RNA. So this acts as an antimetabolic because their structure is similar to that of your uracil and thymine, which are the parts of your DNA and RNA. It is an anti-cancer drug used in the treatment of breast, liver, skin cancer, which inhibit the enzymes. It inhibits the enzyme directly. That thymidine synthesis enzymes they will inhibit. We'll be seeing it. 5-fluorouracil is an anti-neopro belonging to the class antimetabolite. It is an pyrimidine antagonist. Why it is called pyrimidine? Because they have structurally similar to that of your uracil and thymine, which are nothing but your pyrimidine nucleotides base. Okay, nucleotide base. Okay, it is a prodrug. What do you mean by prodrug? As such, 5-fluorouracil is not active. When it goes into the cellular component, it gets converted into its active form, that is deoxyribonucleotide, that exerts the cytotoxic effect by inhibiting the normal pyrimidine formation, which results in inhibition of your DNA. So it gets converted into your deoxyribonucleotide. Okay, let's see how. So once the 5-fluorouracil enters into the cell, target cell, so they get converted into your monophosphate by phosphotransferase, then diphosphate. Then it gets converted into 5-fluorodeoxyuracil monophosphate. Now this 5-fluorodeoxyuracil monophosphate is the component which is necessary for synthesis of your thymidine monophosphate, which is necessary for your synthesis of your thymidine monophosphate. And when this 5-fluorodeoxyuridine monophosphate gets combines with your thymidine synthesis, which is necessary for your transfer of your methyl group, which is inhibited. So your thymine is not synthesized. So what happens? It will block the synthesis of your thymine also. And moreover, it also gets formed to your 5-fluorouracil triphosphate. 5-fluorouracil triphosphate, which is necessary for your DNA. So thus it blocks both your DNA and RNA synthesis, and thus inhibits your cell growth. Okay, this is how your 5-fluorouracil acts. This is how your 5-fluorouracil acts. So it can competitively combine with your thymidine synthesis. So this acts as a substrate for your thymidine synthesis, which is an enzyme which is used for conversion of your 5-fluorouracil monophosphate to deoxythymidine monophosphate. Okay, so this is how it acts, 5-fluorouracil. Okay, this is the mechanism of action of 5-fluorouracil. So in system, the 5-fluorouracil gets converted into your 5-fluoro to deoxyuridine monophosphate. Okay, first is that, which inhibits your thymidine synthesis. Form a covalent ternary complex with your methyl tetrahydrofolate, which is your substrate, and thymidine. So there is a complex. It will form a complex, and it causes an irreversible inhibition of your thymidine synthesis and blocks your conversion of your deoxyuridylic acid to your deoxythymidyllic acid, which is necessary for your synthesis of your thymine, which is the part of your DNA sequencing. Okay, 5-fluorouracil is incorporated into your DNA, interferes with the RNA synthesis and causing it gets converted into 5-fluorouracil triphosphate, which is a part of your RNA. 5-fluorouracil produces the anti-cancer effect on the S phase of your cell cycle. Why S phase? Because your DNA synthesis takes place in that. Your DNA synthesis takes place, splitting and DNA synthesis takes place in the S phase. So your pyridine, your 5-fluorouracil acts on the S phase of your cell cycle. So you have to remember the drug, which is the metabolites, antimetabolites act on the S phase of your cell cycle. 5-fluorouracil is employed primarily in the treatment of slow growing solid tumor cancers like colorectal cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, pancreatic and gastric carcinoma. So this is your applications of your 5-fluorouracil. Now this is how the drug acts. This is the same representation where it gets incorporated, how your methyl gets transferred from your NN-methylene tetrahydrofolate to your deoxyuridine, and you get your thymidine. So when this X, which is usually an hydrogen, if it is replaced by a fluoro, your methyl cannot add, and thus it blocks the synthesis of your thymidine monophosphate. Okay. So these are some of the other examples of your pyrimidine antagonist. Examples are tegophore. Tegophore contains a ribose molecule, deoxyribose molecule. That is a 5-membered ring which resembles to your sugarmate. Your capticinepine. Okay. Here it contains your your carbonyl group of a 5-fluorouracil is converted into an carbamate group with an butyl substitution. Okay, for a pentyl substitution, and it contains an ribose sugar moiety. Uracil, then 5-chloro dihydropyrimidine. So dichloro means, if you see, the entire ring is saturated. Okay, the entire ring is saturated, and your carbonyl group gets converted into your it is N, not NH, it is NOH. Okay, and the chloro is introduced at the 5th position and OH at the 2nd position. That's your example of 5-chlorohydropyrimidine. Okay, it is pyrimidine. Okay, now next is 5-ethynyl uracil. So it contains a CH triple bond CH group at the 5th position. So these are some of the analogs of your 5-fluorouracil. In addition to nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, these are the side effects. And alopecia, severe ulceration in the oral and gastric mucosa, bone marrow depressions, and anorexia are frequently encountered. So these are some of the side effects of your 5-fluorouracil. Now synthesis of 5-fluorouracil. It is directly, you take uracil, you treat it with fluoroxy trifluoromethane. It undergoes fluorination. You get your 5-fluorouracil. This is the synthesis of 5-fluorouracil. Now comes your next. 5-fluorouracil is an example of pyrimidine antagonist. Now purine antagonist. So there is adenine and guanine purine. So your pyrimidine analogs are thymine and uracil, whereas your purine analogs are guanine and guanine is an adenine. So these are some of the purine analogs. So guanine antagonist, so which antagonize guanine nucleotide, are 6-thioguanine. So what is this 6-thioguanine? Your O at the 6th position. If you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6th O. Your carbonyl group is replaced by your sulfur. That is the difference between guanine and 6-thioguanine. Some of the other antagonists are azathioprine. Some of the other examples are azathioprine. So it's an analog of your allopyrinol. It's an analog of your allopyrinol. This is also an intermediate in your nucleotide synthesis, which is used for the preparation of your adenine. So azathioprine contains an N-methyl nitroimidazole group, which is attached through your sulfur to your allopyrinol group. It is connected to your allopyrinol group. Another example is 6-mercaptopurine. The 6-mercaptopurine, it contains a pyrimidine ring fused to your imidazole, that is purine, which contains an mercapto group, that is SH group, at the 6th position. At the 6th position. Okay. So it is an analog of allopyrin, antagonist of allo. So these are the drugs which are purine antagonists. Now let's go for their mechanism of action. These are an highly effective antineoplastic agent. 6-mercaptopurine is the thiol analog of hypoxanthine. It is an thiol analog of hypoxanthine. 6-mercaptopurine and 6-thioguanine are the first purine analogs to prove beneficial in treatment of neoplastic. Azathioprine is an immunosuppressant and exerts its cytotoxic effect after conversion into your 6-mercaptopurine. So this azathioprine gets converted into your 6-mercaptopurine. So you got an hypoxanthine, it is hypoxanthine, you convert, or allopyrinol, both are same. So hypoxanthine gets converted into your 6-mercaptopurine by using phosphorus pentasulfide, which converts your OH into your SH. So they are nothing but analogs of your hypoxanthine. So now the mechanism of action. 6-mercaptopurine, so it is a purine antagonist, inhibits the conversion of inosine monophosphate to adenine. So it prevents the conversion of inosine monophosphate to your adenine and guanine nucleotide. So your guanine and adenine nucleotides are not synthesized. If this adenine and guanine are not synthesized, then that will block the synthesis of DNA and RNA. So let us see how. Nucleotide formation. How does it happen? 6-mercaptopurine gets converted into your nucleotide analog, that is 6-mercaptopurine ribose phosphate. Okay, 6-mercaptopurine, which is similar to that, which is nothing but 6-thioiosinic acid. Okay, inhibition of, and this is how it nucleotide is formed. 6-mercaptopurine. The inhibition of purine synthesis. So the 6-mercaptopurine ribonucleotide phosphate, which is formed, can inhibit the first step of de novo synthesis of your purine. So it will, in the first step of conversion of this thing to NH2, that is inhibited. Incorporation into nucleic acid. Now this this thioguanine mercaptopurine, okay, which is monophosphate, which after the phosphorylation to di and triphosphate can be incorporated into your RNA, and the deoxyribonucleotide analogs that are formed are incorporated into your DNA, thus results in your non-functional RNA and DNA, similar to that of your pyrimidine analog. So they get incorporated into your DNA and RNA sequence, and thus making the DNA and RNA non. So this is how your 6-mercaptopurine or your purine antagonist act. So this is the pathway how they act. So this 6-mercaptopurine and 6-thioguanine is converted intracellular to your thioguanine monophosphate by the enzyme hypoxanthine guanine phosphoribosyltransferase, transferase, where your ribosyl phosphate group gets added to your nucleotide base. Okay. Now this thioguanine monophosphate is further converted into di and triphosphate, or thioguanine diphosphate and triphosphate, which is your normal routine. And this mono and di and tri that gets incorporated into your DNA, and thus inhibiting your biosynthesis of purine and also phosphorylation of GMP to guanine. So this is how the drug acts. So entire your nucleic acid synthesis will be blocked. The DNA synthesis will be blocked and thus lead to your cell death. So this is your mechanism of action of your 6-thioguanine. Uses: it is used in leukemia all types, chlorocarcinoma, adverse bone marrow depression, GIT, hepatic necrosis, and hyperuremia. So these are the side effects of your. Now the synthesis. So what is the synthesis? Now first is what you convert your hypoxanthine carbonyl OH, okay, to your chloroanalog by treatment with POCl3. Now this you treat sodium thiocyanate, you get your SCl, and that you hydrolyze it, you get your mercaptopurine. You get your mercaptopurine. So first you go hypoxanthine to purine, 6-chloropurine, which when treated with sodium thiocyanate gets converted to your cyano derivative, which on hydrolysis gives you your SH group, that is mercaptopurine. So this is the synthesis of your mercaptopurine. This is the synthesis of your mercaptopurine. Now let's go for the next, methotrexate. If you see the structure, methotrexate and your folic acid, both the structure, if you see, they are similar. Both contain an pyrazine fused pyrimidopyrazine fused ring. So it contains a pyrimidine ring which is fused to your pyrazine. The only difference is that your folic acid contains a carbonyl group and NH2, whereas in case of methotrexate, in the first ring there are both the things are amino group. Now let's go for the linker. So it is linked by CH2NH to your PABA. So now this PABA is connected by N-methyl. So if you see in case of methotrexate and folic acid, your amino group is methylated. Your amino group is methylated. Okay. Rest of the structures are same. It is connected to glutamic acid. That is an amino acid. So you got an fused pyrimidino. You have got a fused pyridopyrazine derivative which is connected to a para-amino benzoic acid by a CH2 and the glutamic acid on the last, which is an amino acid, dicarboxylic amino acid. So let's go. This is the structure of methotrexate and how it is an antimetabolite of your folic acid. By looking at the structure, you can come to know both the compounds. This methotrexate is an analog of your folic acid. That's why it blocks. Instead of your folic acid, the methotrexate will be introduced in your system, cellular component. Let's go. So what does this do? So there is an pyridine ring. The fusion of your amino group and this thing is known as pyridine ring, which is, and it contains a PABA and a glutamic acid. Now you can check it with the structure of your methotrexate. Only thing OH is replaced by your NH2, your NH is replaced by methyl. Rest all things are same. So these are the comparison of your two structures. It contains a pyridine ring, that is nothing but your pyrimidopyrazine fused ring, which contains NH and NH2 and OH. Whereas in case of methotrexate, it contains an amino group instead of your OH. Next thing is that your para-amino benzoic acid, it is converted to N-methylated para-amino benzoic. Rest all things, glutamic acid remains the same. So these are the structural features. So methotrexate, as I said, is a classic example of an antimetabolite of folic acid. Structurally derived from N-methyl para-amino benzoic acid. That is a residue of PABA. And replacement of pyridine hydroxyl by a biosteric amino group. So these are the modification in structures that we have done. One is methylation of your PABA and next is you replace your hydroxyl group of your pyridine by your amino group. So conversion of OH to NH2 increases the basicity of N3 and yields greater affinity. Because of this, the affinity will be increased for your enzyme. Okay. This drug competitively inhibits the binding of the substrate folic acid to your enzyme dihydrofolate reductase. So this will inhibit, they will inhibit the binding of the substrate, that is folic acid, to dihydrofolic acid. Now what is the use of this dihydrofolic acid? This results in the reduction in synthesis of nucleic acid base. Like thymine is synthesized from your tetrahydrofluoric acid by methyl transfer. So that will not be. So this will inhibit your conversion of uridate to thymidate, which is catalyzed by thymidine synthesis. So this is how it will block the synthesis of thymine analog of nucleotide. So this is how your methotrexate acts as an antimetabolite for your folic acid and thus blocks the synthesis of your DNA. Okay, thus blocks the synthesis by binding with your dihydrofolate in it. So that is dihydrofolic acid does not get converted into your tetrahydrofolic acid. That is just not converted to your tetrahydrofolic acid. So this is your mechanism of action of your methotrexate. It is the same thing. Folic acid usually you get from the dietary factor. It is converted by enzymatic reduction to series of tetrahydrofolate cofactor that provides carbon group to the synthesis of your precursors of DNA, that is thymidine and purines and RNA purines, which is necessary. Methotrexate inhibits the enzyme dihydrofolate reductase. Inhibition of dihydrofolate reductase leads to your partial depletion of tetrahydrofolate cofactor, that is 5,10 methylene tetrafolic acid and N10 formyl tetrahydrofolic acid required for respective synthesis of thymidate and your purines. So your purines and thymidate are synthesized from your this particular tetrahydrofolate cofactor. In addition, methotrexate undergoes conversion to a series of polyglutamates, okay, in both normal and inhibits your thymidine synthesis. The inhibition of your thymidine synthesis also takes place by your, because they act as a substrate for your thymidine synthesis. So this is how the methotrexate acts. This is how the methotrexate acts. Therapeutic uses: methotrexate in combination with other effective against lymphatic leukemia, cholangiocarcinoma, Burkitt's lymphoma in children, breast cancer, head and neck cancer. In low doses, very important. It is effective single agent against inflammatory diseases such as severe psoriasis, rheumatoid arthritis, as well as Crohn's disease. So what is the other use? It can be used in Crohn's disease in milder doses, in rheumatoid arthritis, and in psoriasis. So in psoriasis also methotrexate as given because of its anti-inflammatory property. Because of its anti-inflammatory property. Okay. Adverse effects: causes stomatitis, myelosuppression, erythema, rashes, urticaria, alopecia. Most frequent toxicity are nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Adverse effect may be prevented or reversed by administration of leucovorin. Okay, this is inhibits your excess of your methotrexate. Hepatic function: long term use lead to cirrhosis. Renal function, yeah, it is very neurologic toxicity, yeah. Subacute meningeal irritation, stiff neck, headache, fever. Seizures also is associated. These are contraindicated because of its teratogenic effect in animals. They are not to be given to pregnant ladies. Okay, during pregnancy you should not prescribe your methotrexate because this leads to teratogenesis. That means it will have effect on the baby. So you have to be careful when you are prescribing methotrexate. Now the synthesis, very important. Synthesis. So you started with what? 2 amino, 3 cyano. You just see the structure. You start with 2 amino, the amino at the second position, 3 cyano, cyano at the third, and 5 chloromethyl pyrazine. So pyrazine is 1,4. It has an amino and a cyano group at 2 and 3, and a methylene chloride chloromethyl group at the fifth position. That when you combine with N-methyl amino benzoyl glutamic acid, you get your intermediate 3. You get your intermediate 3. What is the next step? So this is all you get. Okay. What's the next step? You treat the intermediate 3 with guanidine, that is NH2C and double bond H and NH2. Okay, you treat it with guanidine. So when you treat with guanidine, it undergoes cyclization. It undergoes cyclization. So this is an ester. So you do the hydrolysis of the reagent 4 to get your methotrexate. You get your methotrexate. Okay. So this is your synthesis of methotrexate. Now let's go for the next class of drugs, that are Vinca alkaloids. These are anti-mitotic and anti-microtubule alkaloids. So they act on your microtubules. They act on the microtubules which are extracellular in the cytoplasm. Okay. An alkaloid agent used derived from Madagascar periwinkle plant, Sadafuli, which we call it mostly the pink colored and white colored flower, which you are seen in most of the gardens. So Vinca alkaloids are anti-mitotic and anti-microtubule alkaloid. So Cantharensis rosea, Vinca roseus, and other Vinca plants are the source. Vinca alkaloids are used for chemotherapy for cancer, and it was discovered in 1950s by a Canadian scientist Robert Noble and Carl Speer. So there are two analogs, that is vinblastine and vincristine. If you see the structures of vinblastine and vincristine, you see they are mirror images of each other with slight substitution. First of all, let's go for the upper side. It contains an indole ring which is connected to a piperidine ring, which is connected to a piperidine, 6-membered piperidine ring through a ethyl linker, CH2 group. Okay, these are connected. Okay, now at the third position there is an OH and ethyl. Okay, and at the junction. So this will be connected to your second position of your, this will be connected to your second position of indole by another ethyl group. Okay, it forms an this. So this is your up part. Now which contain, and the junction between that and the second part of your molecule, there is an methyl ester. There is an methyl ester. Now go to the second part of your molecule. Again you got an imidazole ring, which is a saturated ring. Your imidazole, pyrazole part of your imidazole is saturated. Now that is also connected, but only difference over here, there is an unsaturation. There is no OH and methyl. It gets converted into unsaturated pyrimidine. Okay, at a 3 and 4 position, there is an unsaturated. Now the ethyl group which was there on the third position gets shifted to your fifth position. At the next carbon, cyclic ring, it contains an O, it contains an carbamate, C double bond O, carbamate, followed by an ester, that is methyl ester, and an OH. And the difference is that the down methyl contains, the ring contains an methoxy. At the seventh position of your indole ring. So now the difference between vinblastine and vincristine. Vincristine contains an aldehyde group, CHO. The vincristine contains an aldehyde group, and vinblastine contains an methyl group. So MB and AC. MB is, if you remember MB, methyl means vinblastine. How much MB? If you want to remember the structure of vinblastine and vincristine. So MB means what? Methyl and vinblastine. And AC means aldehyde group with that is vincristine. So this is how you can recollect the two names of the structures. Okay, vinblastine and vincristine. They are the two analogs of your vinca alkaloids. Now let us see the mechanism of action. So what does this vinca alkaloids do? They bind with the microtubular protein tubulins in the dimeric form. So when we are seeing the cell pathway, this microtubule proteins will be in the dimeric form. The drug tubulin complex, the drug will bind with your tubulin, which are split up during your cell phase. During your G2 phase, it will be splitting up. Okay, this drug tubulin complex add to the forming of end of the microtubules to terminate assembly. So once this will destroy the assembly of your microtubules. The depolarization of them occurs. This leads to the depolarization. They split up. The microtubules split up, resulting in mitotic arrest of your metaphase. So in metaphase, if you see in the metaphase, that is mitotic phase, the metaphase, the third phase of your mitotic phase, the spindles come part at the opposite side. So that depolarization stop, this will result in the mitotic arrest at the metaphase, dissolution of your mitotic spindle. So mitotic spindle, instead of getting to the corners, they get dissociated, and interference with the chromosome segregation. So your chromosomes will not segregate. So this will this affects on the M phase of your cell cycle. Okay, so it acts as a cell specific agent. So acts on the M phase of your cell cycle. Okay, this is how it prevents the depolarization of your microtubules. It prevents the depolarization of your microtubule and acts on the metaphase of your M phase in your division. Okay, in the mitotic space. So this is your macro. So it forms a complex with your tubulins, thus adds to the forming ends of the microtubules to terminate assembly. This leads to depolarization of your microtubules, and because they get segregated, so the chromosomes will get separated, and thus it will not be attached to your centromeres. Okay, so they will be segregated, and thus it will lead to your cell death, because your daughter cells will not get the exact amount of your chromosomes, so that will lead to your cell death. Okay, so this is how the Vinca alkaloids act. Next class of drug is your taxine, that is your Paxetal, taxol. So what is the mechanism of action of your taxol? So taxol was isolated from bark of western yew tree. Okay, it binds to the beta tubulin subunit inside the microtubule and at a distinct site from which is different from your Vinca alkaloids. So what does this do? This promotes the polymerization, whereas it causes depolymerization. This causes accumulation of your microtubules come together and inhibits depolarization. So they have to at the last step they have to separate and go to each daughter cell. But due to this polymerization, due to that binding, they polymerize it. They make it together, and the complex with the drug makes it difficult to split. So if it is not splitting, your daughter cells will not be formed. Okay, thus irreversibly stabilizes the mitotic leading to apoptosis, that is your cell death. So your microtubules will not get separated, that means your daughter cells will not get your chromosomes. They will be in the metaphase, the separation, telophase, the separation will not take place, and thus it irreversibly stabilizes the cell in the mitotic phase, leading to your apoptosis. Paxetal, one is taxane. Paxetal interferes with the normal tubular growth by hyperstabilizing the microtubules, overstabilizing. This is also stabilizing your microtubules. Thus promotes the polymerized stabilization of the rather than disassembly. So your depolarization will not take place. Irreversibly stabilizes the mitotic, leading to your apoptosis. So this is your mechanism of action of taxol and Paxetal. So these are the examples. The structure I'll be explaining in details later. So the next class of drug is epipodophylotoxins. Next class of drug is epipodophylotoxins. Examples are etoposide and tenopside. Examples of this class of drug is, it is also an plant alkaloid. So these are all plant alkaloids. Your Vinca alkaloids, your taxols, and your epipodophylotoxins all are examples of plant alkaloids. Synthetic derivatives of podophylotoxins are also been synthesized. They act on S and G2 phase. They inhibit topoisomerase 2, which results in breakage of your DNA strands, and so they inhibit your topoisomerase 2 enzyme, which is necessary for your, which results in your breakage, which is necessary for your uncoiling of your and recoiling. So that will not occur because this enzyme is necessary for your coiling and recoiling, splitting and recoiling of your during your DNA synthesis, new DNA synthesis formation. So this, and if this enzyme is inhibited, this will lead to the breakage of DNA strands and thus cell death, used in testicular tumors, cancers of your lungs. So they act on which phase? Synthetic and G2 phase. They act on the S and G2 phase of your cell cycle. So these are the examples of etoposide and tenopside. Both the drugs are same. Both the drugs are same. Only difference is your methyl group of etoposide is replaced by your thiophene in case of tenopside. Rest all things are same in both the structures. In both the structures, if you see, it has got a acetal protected glucose with and middle ring and a hydroxy methoxy derivative on the top. Okay, it contains an cyclic lactone on the side and an acetal group on the other side. So this is the structure of your tenopside and etoposide. Okay, the mechanism of action: etoposide and its analog tenopside are semi-synthetic derivative of plant alkaloids. Okay, they act on the cells in the late S and G2 phase of your cell cycle. The major target of these drugs are topoisomerase 2 enzyme. Binding of this drug to the enzyme DNA complex results in persistence of the transient cleavable form of your complex and thus renders it susceptible to irreversible DNA strand. So this, once it binds, it will the complex that will it not help in the splitting of your DNA. If the DNA doesn't split, your new DNA will not be formed, and thus it will cause the cell death. So this is the mechanism of action of your etoposide, which is an example of your plant alkaloids. So these are some of the examples of this drug. Okay, these are some of the plant alkaloids. These are some of the examples of plant alkaloids.